I was trying to think of what I wanted to do for a cherry on top this month for the YouTube hop, and the theme they suggested was crafts that you love. And this is the first craft that I remember loving. I have been obsessed with crafts since I was a tiny little person, and my older brother and sister, I remember this so vividly. My older brother and sister had taken me to, I guess you would call it a 5 and 10, just a little local store, and told me I could pick out a present. And I picked out this. I picked out a potholder loom and some loops, and I went crazy. I also feel like it was the beginning of my craft empire, because I remember being probably 8 or 10 and going around and selling potholders in the neighborhood to all the local families. So I got this from A Cherry on Top, of course. And here are all my crazy loops. And here are my instructions and the loom. And I don't know what you would call this. You can use this to run through the loops to pull the crosswise loops through. I always just used my fingers, but I'm going to make a potholder with you guys because it's going to amuse me greatly. And the first thing that I'm going to do is separate all of my loops into colors so that I can do a color pattern if I have enough of any one color. Here are my loops all sorted out, and I want to say, if you want to just go with vibes and grab whichever color comes next out of your bag, that's also fine. I just remember really being into making all kinds of different color patterns when I was heavy into my potholder loom phase. So I like to separate the colors and pick a couple that I'm going to work with. So there are 18 pegs on this loom. And so we need 36 loops. We need 18 that go in this direction. So the same one that has an end here is going to have the other end there. And then we're going to need 18 in this direction. And I think I'm going to pick 4 colors and pick 9 of each, just because that's what I'm in the mood to do. Once again, you can kind of go however you like. All right, here are my 9 in each color, and I'm going to put them up in groups of 9. So I'm going to set my loom up first, and I think I want to do the blue and the green. So I'm going to put 9 blue and then 9 green. So I'm going to hook one on one side and give it a tug, and hook one on the other side. Now again, I have always used my fingers. If you find that these are fighting with you a little bit, it is fair play to use this guy and give it a tug. And I did go ahead and stretch these out a little bit earlier to make sure that they were all gonna be long enough. 2. 3. And like I said, well, this one feels a little, you'll find, I will say when they make these, they're more of an art than a science. And so sometimes you'll find some are a little tighter than another. And those are the ones where the hook comes in handy. But for the longer ones, if you want, just use your fingers. So I'm going to go ahead and put my 9 blue ones, and then I'm going to put my 9 green ones. Now I'm going to show you 2 different ways. The first thing I want to talk about, we're just going to go over and under. There are other kind of weaves that you can do, and today is not that day. We're just going to do a basic over-under pattern. So in the same way that I said sometimes I used the hook to get the loops on the pegs, and sometimes I just used my fingers, same thing goes with the weaving. So you want to take the two sides of the loop and treat them as one. So you're going under one loop, over one loop, under one loop, over one loop, etc. Remembering that the loop is actually two strands because there's two sides to it. Now, the first one that I want to do is way down here, but sometimes it is not so easy to get this close to the edge. So if you want to do your weaving up here and push it down, there is nothing wrong with that. You just want to make sure that this side doesn't go all the way through. So this one I'm just going to do with my fingers. So I'm going over, under a loop, over a loop, under, over. And I'm going to do this all the way across till I get to the other side. Here's my first half. Again, I want to make sure that this side doesn't pull in. And then I'm going to go here. Starting with over, under, over, under. You want to keep pushing these down. You want to make sure they don't pop up because they very much would like to pop off of the peg. And let's see. Over, under, whoop. See, that guy wanted to make a run for it. So I'm giving this a big tug and I'm pushing this straight down so it's all the way near the edge. And I'm going to put it on that peg and then I'm going to push these down and make sure they're not going anywhere. Once again, if I had a hard time, I could use the tool. Now, if I want to do all of my weaving with the tool and I don't want to just use my fingers like I just did, we can do that too. So let's grab another beige one. And in this instance, I'm going to put the tool through and then I'm going to pull the loop through. And we want to go on the opposite every other time. So for this loop, I started by going under. So for the next one, I'm going to start by going over. So I'm taking the tool and I'm putting it where the loop wants to go. We're going over, under, etc., but in the opposite way from where we did it the first time. One of the advantages of using the tool is if, especially when you're learning, if you make a mistake, it's really easy to pop the tool out of the way as opposed to unweaving a whole loop. So here's my tool, and you can see I'm exactly the opposite from the way I did the first one. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this loop. I like to put it on the small end. It works either way. I just think it's easier to grab the bigger end. And I'm going to pull it through. And I'm actually going to slide this down so I can catch it on the next peg. And it's okay if you have to finagle a little bit. You just don't want to pull it all the way through. You want to make sure that this loop catches on a peg. I'm just going to use my finger to hold it down. And then I'm going to slide this tool all the way across and put it on the peg. So again, at this point, I'm going to use my fingers to press this down. So it's a nice tight weave. It is a good way for me to see if I have made any mistakes. And I'm going to push the loops down. So I'm going to continue going every other one. So that one started with under, that one started with over, this next one is going to start with under. I'm going to, again, for my pattern, I'm going to do my 9 cream colored loops, and then I'm going to do my 9 sort of coral colored loops, and then we're going to take a look at how best to take it off the loom. It's very important. You see, I'm sort of having a little twisty problem here. Very important to make sure that you don't do that. But again, if you prefer the tool, this is a great use for it, because you could see I realized I made a mistake and I just used the tool to slide it back and get it in the right place. So we're going to put that on peg 3. So I'm going to get my cream colored loop and put it in the smaller of the 2 hooks. And I'm going to finagle. If I have to let, what you don't want the hook to be straight up, because then you'll just get caught on everything. You want it to be side to side. But once again, if you have to manipulate a little bit to make it come through, and using this hand, I'm going to put it on that 3rd peg, and I'm going to use my left hand to make sure it's on the 3rd peg. And I'm going to give that a tug and place it on the peg. Whoop! It got away from me there. Slide it down. Take a look at it, make sure it all looks nice and even. Push these loops down. Grab my next one. And again, if you don't want to use the tool, just use your fingers. It's a lot easier to see once you have a couple of your crosswise loops on. You can see exactly where you're going. Yep, got a little too far here. Now the other thing you'll notice here, I have a twist. Let's see if you can see that. The other thing you'll notice right here is that I have a twist. I like to eliminate that if I can. If you're working on one of these with a child, or you just don't care that much, you can absolutely leave it in. But to me personally, if I can take that twist out while I'm weaving, I'm going to get a pot holder that looks a little nicer and lays a little flatter. Here we are at the halfway point, keeping my loops down so they don't pop off the pins, and keeping the tension so that I keep pushing it down. I don't want it to curve upwards because I want to make sure I have enough room up here to get my last couple of loops in. I'm now going to switch over to my rust color. I will also say for this very last one that I'm putting in, even though I'm somebody who prefers to use my fingers, it was a lot easier to use the tool for this last one because as we fill up our loom, the fabric gets tighter and tighter and tighter. So I will say for this last one, no matter how you were doing it otherwise, I did find that the tool made my life a lot easier just because it's tight. And give it a tug. So here we go. So what I want to do right now, push everything towards the center so it's nice and straight and even. And I'm going to look everywhere and make sure that I don't have any mistakes, because if I do, now is the time to find them and correct them. You can just pull whatever loop out that you need to that is incorrect and slide it right back in there. So now when I'm ready to finish off my piece, I have 2 choices. Once again, I can do it with my fingers, but if you happen to have a crochet hook laying around, it will make your life a heck of a lot easier, in my personal opinion. And if you follow along with the instructions in the kit that you got from A Cherry on Top, it says you can do a laced edge, which is what we're going to do, or a looped edge in which you get a sewing needle and thread out and just stitch around the outside. But I find that to be a lot more tedious. I'm just going to go ahead and lace my edges. So I'm going to start in a corner. I'm going to grab my first loop off the peg, and I'm using my crochet hook just to make my life easier. Then I'm going to go to the second one and pull, whoop, lost track of it there. I'm going to pull the second one through the first one. Now I'm going to go to the next one. Pull that one through the one before. And I'm going to do this all the way around. You do want to try and keep the other guys on the pegs as long as possible, just so if there is some tension, it doesn't come unwoven. Now, if you do not want to use the crochet hook, just grab one loop at a time and push it through the one before. And you do have to kind of stretch out the one before. So give it a good tug. Grab the next one and pull it through. But I will be honest, if you have a crochet hook laying around where it might be worth grabbing one, the size doesn't really matter. You need it to be big enough to grab the loop, so I would go with a 5mm, which is an H hook or higher. This is a 4.5. It's just the one that I picked up because it was closest. Here we are at the halfway point. You can see I'm getting my nice laced up edge, and they're a lot easier to take off at this point because there's no tension on them because the other sides have come off. Here's my corner. I finished this side. I'm going this way. I'm just going to grab the next one like I've been doing. Again, try and keep the loops on the pegs if you can. It will keep them from popping off and coming unwoven, which is not what you want. And I'm just going to continue to go one at a time, and you can use your fingers if you want. All right, my pot holder is completely off the loom. Now, one thing I want you to notice, it's smaller than the loom was, and that's fine. All that tension that we put on the loops when we were weaving and when we were putting our loops on the loom to get it started, all that tension has come away. So it has snapped back into its original tension, but that's good because this is nice and thick and will actually be useful as a pot holder. Now, when I have my one loop left, I like to tug it out a little bit. It's okay for it to do that. I can slide it back in a little bit when I'm done, and I'm just going to tie this in an overhand knot. Once again, I can use the crochet hook or not, depending on what works best for you. Now, I don't want it to be huge. I'm just using up a little bit of the slack that was in that loop, and I'm tying that overhand knot really super duper tight. So that gives me two things. One is if I want to hang this on a hook, I have a little hanger, which is super awesome. But the other thing it does is because that overhand knot is so thick and tight, it's going to prevent my pot holder from coming undone. So that is a tad bit tight at the top, but once I start using it, or I throw it in the wash after I've used it for a little while, it'll even up a little bit. But that knot is going to keep everything from unraveling and it'll give me a handy dandy little hanging strap. So I hope you had a really fun time making a pot holder with me today. I really enjoyed reliving my youth. I am Mary Beth Temple from MBT Creates, and this video was brought to you by A Cherry on Top, and you can grab the kit that I use right on their website. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. Bye-bye.